Hey, hello, folks. Welcome to Pro Trader Strategies. My name's Eric Wilkinson, and this is Spotting the Trade. I'm going to get you folks what you need to know before you roll. And a lot of that's going to be talking about geopolitical fodder today because that's what's driving the markets. And then we'll talk about some option strategies we could implement into a portfolio based on the assumptions we come up with in this market analysis. All right, so what happened over the weekend? We got a lot of things happening here. Friday, we got crude oil finally start breaking below that 115 and the 50-day moving average. That's going to be a big coup today, climbing a little bit higher today. Well, why is this market juking back and forth? Well, one of the major things was, are we going to open up some permits? Really, folks thought this weekend we were going to start seeing the president, this administration, ease up on some of the blocking of the new permits coming into the markets. One of the things, well, he bumped his head and really started talking about energy. He started talking about releasing or relieving us of the national gas tax. Well, that would lower gas prices by maybe somewhere between 20 to 40 cents a gallon. Well, when we're talking $5 a gallon, that's really not what we're talking about, lowering prices. Also, one of the things here is that doesn't help the problem, okay? It exacerbates it, if anything, because the government's not making money on the gas prices. That's taxes. That's going to, not be able to help with infrastructure. That's one of the bad things with it. The other thing is we are not seeing this really help with the infrastructure of crude oil. We haven't had a refinery. You heard me talking about this all last week since the 70s. There's refineries here in the United States that shut down in the 80s and never ramped back up. So those are part of the statistics. Yes, they are a refinery, but they aren't acting as a refinery right now. A lot of those places are just storage units for the most part for different types of oils, if you will. Some of them, the one in Fort Wayne has never had crude oil in it, so they store Wesson oil, I believe. So those are things that folks are talking about with the capacity utilization. We haven't gotten to 100% capacity utilization for reasons like that. We haven't started any new refineries. Some of those refineries are offline and probably couldn't be ramped back up anytime soon anyway, because the infrastructure around their business has probably started. The main infrastructure, the hard infrastructure that would house this or refine it, is probably in disrepair at this point. Another thing that we're talking about here is Biden bumped his head and started changing policy on energy. If you're under a rock, he fell off a bike earlier this weekend, and memes are going crazy. Another thing besides just relieving us of the national gas tax is the fact that he thought that what was it that we were going to talk about here? Anyway, at the end of the day, we're not relieving the tension of supply. That's what I'm getting at. We need to relieve the tension of supply. Oh, that's what it was, is that some of these permits were going to be reopened up, but the higher cost of the permit application process, the permits themselves, thinking that taxing these guys on the permits on the back end here would overall lower costs somehow. That's not going to work, folks. If we increase the cost to the producers, well, those guys are going to raise the cost to the end users like yourself and myself. So that's really just not going to work. So while we're seeing the government trying to come up with a way to spin these higher prices to try and change a little bit of the rhetoric without changing their stance, if that makes sense, they're not going to really just start opening up oil fields here. They're going to make it a bit of a tough row to hoe, if you will. So all of that said, we've gotten a little bit of a turnaround here in crude oil. As you can see, crude oil starting to make a little bit of a bounce over the weekend after the big sell-off below the 50-day simple moving average. It's amazing what a little bit of chatter on news media outlets will get this market to turn around, right? Again, still really surprised with gold futures here. I'm not sure why. I guess we're not going to get I'm going to have to change this. Hold on a second. Let me get back to this. It's only going to show me this chart, I believe. Let me just double check. Yes. Trying to do things a little bit different today. All right. So let's go to gold futures. GC, I'm going to be doing these a little bit out of order and trying to shoot from the hip here. GC, hopefully we're getting some charts showing up. Just surprised that gold futures isn't up in the 1900s above this 50-day simple moving average, at least, especially with the higher prices, everything else going on. Strength in the dollar is going to kind of temper some of this gold move to the upside, but that doesn't mean that other folks wouldn't be wanting to clamor onto that gold price there. Sorry, folks, I keep thinking I need to drop that picture and I need to get back to it. Make sure that I'm on the right chart here. Let's see. No, I'm not. It looks like I must be this one. Give me a Y if you guys can see the chart there in the chat window. It looks like, okay, there we go. I got my chart back up. All right, so gold futures coming off again today. Strength in the dollar is what most people are going to be probably saying is happening there, but strength in the dollar, it shouldn't really be causing gold to sell off that much. It's not gaining that much strength, although we are back near probably the late 90s where the dollar is in relation to broader currencies there. Bitcoin, something to note here. We were talking about this coming down, testing this 18,300 area. If it goes much below that, we are going to see a real sell-off there in Bitcoin back into, quadruple digits rather than being in, the 20, 30 handle there. Well, something happened over the weekend. We got a big slam down here to about 17,500 on Saturday. Remember, I talked about this over the weekend. There was a big convention down in Miami. That could have been part of this catalyst over the weekend, depending on what folks were talking about, how these CEOs were, being confident or not confident, really driving that market there. So this week is going to be a big telltale sign as to strength in Bitcoin here. And that weakness over a convention really not giving me a whole lot of confidence, to be honest there. I think that's the right chart again. I keep in the habit of shrinking my charts here rather than changing them. Let's go over to E-mini S&Ps here. ES markets making some moves to the upside after last week. I think that this is a time we're going to see some strength here. Remember, Thursday, we've got all kinds of PMI numbers. Now, if those numbers are stronger, Purchasing Managers Index, then I think it will get a little bit of a move to the upside. More of a consolidation, maybe a slow grind higher this week, as the early part of the week doesn't really hold a whole lot with economic data. It's really going to be coming out of the administration. How are we going to deal with these gas prices? We seriously need to be concentrating on gas prices right now, lowering that, because that will lower inflation across the board there. You can look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, again, coming down, testing some of those key levels. Most folks are going to be talking about that 30,000 level. That's a psychological level. We've got the Fibonacci, 100% Fibonacci based on the pandemic low to the pandemic high, measured moves off of that. We can see that the pandemic high was pretty much tested on Friday there. Is that enough for us? Might be. We're going to have to keep our eyes out here. Feels like we're really trying to find a bottom here, build out a bottom here. Is it a recovery at this point? I'm not ready to say that. I think that the economy is still very fragile, and we really need to lower overall gas prices to lower this overall inflation to allow us to start really growing health in a healthy way. Sorry about that. I was thinking to myself, don't shut that one. All right, back to this. All right. Gold futures, NASDAQ. We got, what else we got to look at? E-mini S&Ps. Did I show the NASDAQ there? NQ will finish off with this one. You can see that we were talking about last week going down and testing this 11,250. That was breached. Strength into Friday and today. We're getting some follow through today. I talked about Friday. It kind of worked out exactly how we were talking about. Early morning sell off as that institutional money left. We got a bit of a retail buy into the close there. Now, is that indicative of a bottom? No, we should see some more back and forth, really. So I'm not really calling this as a bottom. It was just too weak of a rally on Friday to really call that. This week, we're going to get a lot better economic data that we can really go on, because it's going to be forward-looking data. These are the PMI numbers that I've been talking about. They've been staying pretty strong, but we've seen a couple manufacturing numbers come in a little bit weaker than expected. I would expect to start seeing some of these PMI numbers to pull back a little bit, which we have not seen yet. So Thursday is going to be a big day for that. A lot of consolidation this week ahead of that. I think institutional money is waiting for that number too. So we're going to see maybe some consolidation here, a little bit of a move to the upside, but I would not expect us to break the lower lows, lower highs that we've been seeing here. We have created a new lower low. So the market coming back would expect to stay shy of the 12,500 there. So if you're looking at a line in the sand, keep this trend channel in the back of your head there. It's going to line up pretty nicely with the 50-day simple moving average. So you've got a couple of things there working in your favor as looking for that overhead resistance to get broken if we're going to get into a bullish pattern here going forward. I don't see it happening right now. Friday probably be the day that we really have a lot more information to go on, because Thursday we're going to see how the market reacts. All right, that's all I got. Hope you had a great weekend. Other than that, if you can't take that, take it easy. Bye for now, folks. Don't forget to smash the like button there.